Are you ready to go? Wonderful. Welcome to the March 4th, 2026 Planning Commission business session. We want to welcome all of our residents here and guests, and also ensure that we discuss any ex parte communications or conflict of interests with the commission. Are there any?
No.
No. Wonderful. Well, starting off this meeting, we are going to go into the general public comment phase. Now, this is a time that you will have an opportunity as individuals to make general public comments that do not relate to any projects scheduled for public hearing under the business items section of this agenda. So we do have a public comment policy on the agenda if you do see that. Public comments may provide public comments verbally or via writing. Any of this is accepted between the 5 and 6 p.m. at the business session, and this will be 3 minutes to discuss anything that is not on the agenda. So if there are any public comments, please go and fill out the public comment forms over there, and we will have you come up. Wonderful. There are no longer forms. So please state your name. Yeah, please state your name and address and any public comments that you may have.
Okay, I'm Robin Taylor Granda. I'm the representative for Preservation Utah. I also am in District 2. I'm at 7735 South, 2325 East, just right over there as well.
Wonderful. Welcome.
So as the representative for Preservation Utah, I wanted to share our appreciation for everything that this commission is doing for the old mill. I just sat in on your previous meeting, and we're just really appreciative for all that you guys are doing. I sat in on your 2 meetings ago as well, when you also addressed the old mill initially. We're just really happy to see that the measures that you're taking and investigating the structural integrity of the old mill property. It's great. The fact that you're doing an RFQ for structural to find out really what the situation is so that you know how to move forward, and the work that the mayor's office and the rest of the city staff has been doing. We've been working with some of the city staff. We're really happy with how serious the city has taken the community input on how important that property is to the community. We're also just so pleased by the work that the owner has been doing and making the building accessible, giving everything the city that it needs so that we can all take a look at this and hopefully make something happen with the building. It's been great. Just wanted to say thank you, and it's all been recognized. So that's all.
Thank you. Any other public comments that are not associated with the agenda items that are up for public hearing? I see none. Oh,
Hi, Shauna Bland. I live in the Old Mill Estates. I've spoken at every meeting about the old mill, so I might as well speak about this at this one too. I too am grateful for the Planning Commission's response when we came last, I guess it was at the end of January when we had the meeting, and it was so overwhelming that everybody came up and gave you know, what they felt about the old mill and how much it meant to them. And we felt like you really listened, and we really appreciate that. We know things have been developing and stuff, and we're anxious to see where that goes. We also want to reiterate that we really, really want single-family homes down in our canyon. that is what it's zoned for. That's what we're hoping the Planning Commission will determine that is best for there. We know there's a need for single-family homes, and we know that we only have one road. We have, if there were a fire or anything, there could be major problems. But we just really want it to be single-family homes down there. We hope the old mill gets to stay and be beautified in whatever way that means. And we're grateful for your willingness to listen to the citizens. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Hi, I'm Ronnie O'Callahan. I also live in the Old Mill Estates, and we're neighbors with the Blands and others here. And we're just hoping, just to reiterate, that that land is used as single family and multi-purpose for bikers and hikers. And I just came out of my community, and the entire road right now is totally filled with cars that are at the local bar, which is totally fine. But I can't imagine that we would have any high density there that would be able to accommodate any extra cars. So just in leaving my neighborhood, there were 4 bikers, there were about 10 hikers, there were probably 50 cars, and we don't even have any development on that property yet. So just to reiterate, it'd be really nice if it could just stay as much as it is, to be open to the public to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for letting me take a minute. My wife is Shauna. I think what I want to just say is that we've lived here for over 2 decades in the Old Mill subdivision. We made a decision to live here when it was what it is, and the Canyon has single-family homes and neighborhoods, and we always thought that and expected the quality of life there would continue in that manner, that it would be single-family homes as the property was developed, and that the canyon would be more or less preserved. There's a lot of issues in the canyon. First and foremost, it's just beautiful. It's 1 mile long from the top to the bottom. But more density will affect the quality of life for all of us that live in that canyon and have built our lives in that canyon. What we planned on, we recognize private property rights. We recognize that the canyon needs to have development, but it needs to be fitting. It needs to be right for the area. And that's what we ask and continue to implore you to consider in your discussions and you're looking at what might be appropriate for down there. Our opinion is there's nothing appropriate except single family homes for all of the reasons that we could go into, but we won't tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? I see none, so we will close the public comment section of this meeting and move on to our business items for the evening, which is Project CUP-26-003. And the Planning Commission will review and take possible action on a conditional use permit request by Mark Schick to operate Children's Applied Behavior Analysis Therapy Office and Daycare at 1950 East Fort Union. And if we could have the staff present on this.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the CUP case number is CUP-26-003. Applicant is Mark Schick, and the property owner is Sanders Holdings LLC. And for this case, requires a conditional use approval for Children Applied Behavior Analyzed ABA Therapy Office and Daycare. And the project property located is the 1950 East Fort Union Boulevard. And staff recommends approve with condition. So, and our applicant also online on the Zoom. So if you had any question, you can ask him. And so for the proposed, the applicant is requesting approval of the conditional use permit to operate in outpatient pediatrics applied behavior analyzed ABA clinic service children's age 2 to 8 And according to the applicant, this kind of service is kind of like a regular traditional daycare. And the clinics will operate the Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with no overnight service. Service are authorized eternally indoor within exceeding professional office space with only minor internal modification and no exterior change proposed. The facility will operate on a schedule base with the dropout and pickup times and minimize traffic's impact. The applicants indicated that parking is available within the shared parking lots. And the ABSRP consists of structures, evidence-based sections conducts in the quotes. Supervised clinic setting, no outdoor activity area, heavy equipment, or any material are proposed. And there's also no medical treatment for this ABA daycare. The applicant states client will help the meeting the growing community demand for the earlier intervention service and reduce the trouble burden for the local family. And staff found the subject property is located with the CR Regional Commercial Zone District according to the Kahnawha Municipal Codes 19.40.030B. Nursery school and daycare center are listed as a conditional use within the CR zone. The applicant proposed to operate a children applied behavior analyze ABA therapy clinic service to children aged 2 to 8 during the weekdays. And staff found out the service are provided to minor in the supervision settings, and also clinic are drop off the pickup by parents or the teachers, and activity authors indoors during the standard daytime business hours only, and no overnight care is provided. And also no outdoor play area or exterior site modification are proposed. So ABS therapy focus on improvement community, social behavior, and the daily life skill through the individually evidence-based therapy provides in one-on-one or small group section by training a professional. The services are educate and developmental in nature and do not involve the medical products, overnight stay, or other equipment use. Based on this operational characteristics, the staff found the proposed use to be operators review under the conditional use category of nursing school and the daycare center in the CR zone district. Oh, and for the parking plan, you can see the right-hand side, the pictures. This lot total have 17 parking installed, and now ABA Champs is the only one company in this building location. And according to their listing contract, they have 3 parking specifically designed for this business. And the applicant also tell the staff they have a kind of share parking agreement with the adjacent property in the south to share their parking space.
Is this a single-use building?
No, they have a second floor. They have other business before, but now they're closed their business. Now only the ABA using. Okay. Yeah, usually in the past for the last whole year, only second floor, 1 business open, or to the first floor. Only 3 years ago, there were 2 business open at the same time. And first one is instant care, and also kind of the physical therapy join the building. But after physical join it, the first floor business just closed. So usually most of the time, just 1 business in that building.
And is that what it's going to be going forward? I'm sorry, is it going to be just this 1 business in that building?
For now, yeah. Okay. And the applicant tell us they checked the listing company. Now they don't have any business kind of interested in the second floor. So for the next couple of months, probably just ABA champion in the building.
So you confirm the physical therapy clinic is not operating on the second floor any longer?
That's what applicant tell us. Yep. They're not they closed their business.
Okay.
Yeah, they relocated Mountain Land Physical Therapy.
Well, they own the property to the south as their corporate headquarters, so the spillover parking is, it'll be, yeah, I'm assuming if they're not there on that second floor, that should mitigate my concerns, because there's very, very minimal spillover beyond the exact parking spots are in the front of the building. So the stuff to the side and to the south will be challenging, because they've used every spot they have and probably could use more.
Yeah, and the staff also check with like the applicants, how many employee and how they gonna control the traffic, include the parking. So the employee, the maximum the applicant tell us just gonna be a 10 employee. And we can check the applicant later how they're gonna operate their, business work hour. And so basic now, those parking just for their staff, their employee, because the parent is going to be pick up and drop really quick, just probably 1 to 2 minutes. And the play can also say that if a teacher can stay outside, just help to pick up the kids and go to the classroom. So parent basically just park and go. They're going to have like park longer for take care of any like a parking problem.
What is the drive circulation for the pick up and drop off, or is it just parking in a stall, having them go and then leaving?
Yes, that's what I understand.
That's what it's okay.
Can we, I have just some questions about this being designated as a nursery school or daycare, because it's really more clinical in nature. They're providing therapy. So is that designation, do we need to think about that designation?
Yes, when we received this by we kind of consider the same things, like, so we let applicant kind of like explain why they think this traditional daycare. So basically they just let the kids stay with like kind of daycare center, but the difference is since those kids kind of like most of their special needs, and this teachers provide those kind of the education purpose. So same thing like a daycare, they teach the kids their daily behavior needs, but since they have a kind of special need, they have a kind of provide those kind of special treatment with evidence base.
Right.
I think,
But it is therapy. I mean, they are providing some kind of treatment. So, I think I just want to make sure that the definition is accurate.
Yeah, so this part, I think, like, after my presentation, we can check with the applicant, and they probably can give it like a clear definition, like the daycare things. Yeah.
I mean, in the narrative, it said that there would be therapy taking place, and
Yeah.
I'm 100% for this. I'm not.
Yeah, because
but I just want to make sure that we're defining things and looking at it correctly.
Yeah, because on the kind of like an email conversation with them, they say this is just kind of like traditional daycare things, and that's why when staff review it, we just kind of try to use, I understand like Commissioner, you're concerned like because they say those kind of therapy things to treatment. Yeah.
What is the parking agreement once the other part of the building is occupied?
That parking, we haven't received that yet. I tell the applicant I try to receive before the meeting. If not, I still gonna bring it to the meeting, but before commission make a decision, no matter it's kind of approve or table, or before we issue the business license, we need to see that agreement to make sure that those parking they have enough parking for their use.
I could add something real quick if it's okay. So generally with a building like this, the parking is determined on the square footage, not necessarily the use. But in this case, you could argue there's even less parking than an office user because kids don't usually drive themselves to daycare. So the pickup and drop off hours would be busy with traffic coming in and out, but the parking stalls would still be available. And if in the event someone did occupy a different part of the building, the site was designed and built to accommodate the square footage of the building as a general office or typical use that would have that type of traffic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so if it is more of like the daycare approach, there's typically drive aisles that wouldn't either block the other uses of parking. So I think that would be more so of the concern is this going to prohibit use for other uses in the building if it's only 50% occupied by allowing this use in the space, just because circulation patterns don't seem to be fitting on the site. Now, if it's truly just park, drop off and go, I think that use and parking ratios are a little bit different for a daycare and office, than anything else really. So I agree with you on that. I just think that the parking circulation and the drive aisle circulation needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, so as part of their site plan they submitted, they're not showing like a pickup drop-off area other than just the designated parking stalls that are there. So it'd be just like if you parked at a store, went in, grabbed something and came back out. The same exchange would happen here with pickup and drop-off. So there's not a designated zone. It's just the parking space.
So there's going to
So-
only be 4 kids there at a time, or 4 kids there at a certain drop-off time?
Yeah, they're showing that as the 4 designated spaces for their business.
Okay.
Yep. And we sent out the public notice, and since the day we sent out, we received 0 public comments in writing. And so staff recommended the approval of the condition, and the conditional item include the applicant shall obtain and maintain the valid Cottonwood High business license for during the operation. And second, all client parking should be accommodated off-street with an exceeding property. The business should not rely on the street parking or adjacent properties parking lots. A building permit should be obtained for an exterior signage or other permissions for no more require the building permit. Any exterior signage and other external remodel will be made with the guideline outlined in the Gateway Overlay Zone District, the codes 19.49. Approval of this conditional use permit is subject to review or revoke upon the complaint or evidence of non-compliance with the conditional of approval or applicable city codes. Number 6, any expansion or change in the scope of the business should require additional city review and approval.
I do have a question following up on Commissioner Anderson's comments. What kind of training do the teachers have for this? Do we know, do they have some kind of professional designation?
The applicant doesn't provide that for the staff, but we can ask the applicant. He's online, so he can tell us what the teacher's training and all the detail.
Okay. And the clientele, is this open to the general public, or are these kids that have some kind of special needs? Do we know that?
Most of the cases, the autism case kids.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Paulson.
I'm just looking at the map and I'm kind of wondering how that flow is going to work. If you pull in the driveway and then pull up in front of the front door, unless you pull a U-turn or back into the parking and come back out, that's kind of a dead end. So I'm wondering about how you're going to do a smooth entrance and exit to drop the children off without creating a traffic jam, given the parking lot in front of the building. Are they going to pick them up on the side and then walk them over to the front door? How's that going to work?
You mean the dead end of the south?
Yeah,
area?
well, you're going to have you're going to have a very busy time in the morning and the afternoon. In the proposal, they were going to schedule parents so that it would be as smooth as possible. But I'm just looking at the parking. There is a barrier between the parking there and the neighbor. I think it's Taco Bell, but you can't go from their parking lot into Taco Bell and go out. As you come in, if you pull a left-hand turn coming in the driveway and go in front of the building to drop your child off, how do you get out without interfering with the person that's behind you who wants to do the same thing?
I think I interpret it to be like any place where you go and you park and you walk into a store, you come back to your car, you back out, and you go back out the way you came in.
Well, the way it was explained, as I recall, is the parents were really going to get out of the car.
No, I think that it is. They said they would park for like 2 minutes,
They
take
can
their
park,
child
they can
in.
choose just like.
So their plan is to then have them park, then get the children that back out of the parking stall and then exit. So it's not going to be a flow-through thing like they have at some.
I don't think so. No, I think it's
For last time, we checked with the applicants, like it depends on what the kids need. Some kids parent can park and take the kids to the drop off, but sometimes some kids, they really need a teacher to help. Teacher can walk out and help with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I share a similar concern if it were to be more of a drive-through status, but it seems like this is more stagnant where it's, drop and it says drop off is anticipated between 8 and 9 a.m. and the pickup between 4 and 5 with staggered arrival. with 1 to 2 minutes during drop off and pickup, maybe the applicant can shed some additional light to this. But if it is, if there's any allowance of the children to leave the vehicle without a parent, then I have more concern behind that, as well as just additional use to the building with this only being 50% occupied right now. What this would potentially harm an additional user in this building, and just being able to, backfill this building and create additional uses. So any other questions from the commission?
I know
We do have,
I know we had noticing to the adjacent property owners, but there's one significant property owner to the south that has over 100 employees that go down that exact same narrow strip from Fort Union Boulevard. So I do have the concern that we make sure, just from a public safety standpoint and ingress and egress, and I'm not sure what the arrangement is in terms of that particular piece of property, but it's pretty narrow. If you've ever pulled in or out of that, and I have a number of times, the turnout to the right is very, very short, steep, and fast. And the turnout to the left is almost across the street from Whole Foods and Domino's and everything in that development. So it's a tricky spot. And it may, to accommodate all the potential tenants and to try to maximize the space for the building, there may need to be some creative solutions to avoid the public harm with this. So I think it probably could be navigated. It's not going to be a traditional daycare drive-through, but I think there's some nuances that, pulling in and doing a 3-point turn to get kids in and out of there while, 100+ Mountain Land employees are going in during that exact same hour, I think we're going to create a challenge for everybody involved. So I'd love to see us figure out a way to navigate that. I don't know if that's beyond our scope, Chair. I kind of feel like it is, and I don't have a recommendation. I'd hate to deny simply based on that fact, but I wish there was some way to accommodate a solution or facilitate one.
I think it raises a really valid point. We've got 4 designated spots, so I think it's going to be some additional information that we receive from the applicant in regards to how many, uses or how many, pieces of traffic are going to be coming through there per hour, and, figuring out, if that's a part of that use within the office space there. This was, of course, not built to create a daycare. This would be a completely different situation if the whole use of this building was just the daycare, just the clinic, just the therapy session. But because, there's an additional use that's vacant now, as we're stating, it could be filled in 2 months, 3 months, a year. As long as this use is here, there's some safety concerns here, especially for children, and also just the use and the public right-of-way. Actually, that's probably not a public right-of-way. That's a private right-of-way, my guess, to Mountain Land in the back.
Correct.
So additional traffic, I think we need to understand this, because as Jim had mentioned, this is all based on the square footage and the ratio of square footage to amount of parking stalls. And if we only have 4, that raises concern.
Where are you thinking there's only 4?
On this exhibit here in the analysis, they have designated parking for LC, and there's 4 stalls in the north side of the parking here.
But don't all these parking stalls in the area, aren't they for use by that building, by what the business?
Yeah, for this
occupying
ABA,
it?
yep.
So they could use any of the parking spots.
And that's just based on the total building, and there's, a 50%.
Right. I mean,
Yep.
if the time comes, another business comes in there, it would come back through here as conditional use, and we'd have to.
Not every business is going to come back through here, because they're not occupying the whole building. So there could be another business that comes in here that is
In
not
the, on the
conditional.
second floor. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I want to be fair about what we're looking at. I mean, and maybe understanding the numbers of children that are coming in would be very helpful.
Absolutely.
Because they can, I mean, they can use more than those 4. I mean, they can.
I'm not sure why it's stated
Yeah, I'm
designated
not-
parking. It's very possible that within their lease, that those are the designated parking stalls for them. The others might be shared with the building. Once again, the applicant will need to give us some additional
Yeah,
insight
that
to
would be helpful to know.
But, I think we need to look at this from a total use of this building. And if it's at 100% occupancy, which it is not right now, what is going to happen to this space? And is it going to potentially harm the overall use of the site? And I think that that's really what we need to be evaluating.
But
So-
if the building parking has enough spaces to accommodate all employees that may possibly occupy, even on the second, if there were someone to go onto the second floor.
I think that maybe what we need to look at is what is, based on the square footage of this building, what is the acceptable amount of parking stalls under this code and zoning for
Yeah,
office?
that's a good question.
Because my concern is at full capacity of this space, and full capacity of this conditional use, that we're going to run into a parking ratio issue if the whole building is fully occupied. Now, I think that this is an incredibly beneficial, and it's something that is so needed in the community. I just want to make sure that, once this is fully occupied, we're not running into a bigger issue, which I think is, that would then really prevent the applicant from operating in a concise manner. So can you as staff, shed some light as far as what office parking ratios are per square foot?
Yeah, we can find that. Give me just a minute.
Wonderful. Thank you. While they're looking at this, Rusty, what are your thoughts?
So if we can understand the square footage of that building and then literally count the stalls, we can understand a little more about the parking ratio. A building of this quality, a Class C office building would park 3 stalls or 4 stalls per 1,000 square feet of space. That is just what a typical developer would offer for a building like this. Is typically what the market would provide for a building of this nature is 3 to 4 parking stalls per 1,000 square feet of space. Those are just
And
market general conditions.
yeah, and since we have the applicant, do you have any, Mark, do you happen to have any details in regards to how many parking stalls that you have associated with your lease and your use of this building?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the 4 spots that we were mentioning, those are just designated for us. That those will have signs that say no one else could use it besides Little Champs employees or clients. And then the building, we were told, according to the landlord, has 20 spots, which we have use of all of those, especially now that there's no one on the top floor. And then in regards to the south side of the building, there is no like formal written thing, but the landlord did say that the overflow, like we would be able to use the back of the building on the south side. And when we were there inspecting the building, checking it out multiple times, parking was pretty open. Even with the physical therapy they were there when we were checking it out. Because it's physical therapy, it's not so many people at a time there. So parking seemed pretty adequate. And then just in regards going back just from the beginning of the conversation regarding pickup and drop off. So parents get to choose. It's really up to them if they need a staff member to come out to greet their child, pick them up. That's totally fine. They could drive right up to the front door. One of our staff member will come out, greet the kid, and then mom, dad will drive away. Or they can park like someone said during that like a store, they could park and they could come inside, and then they typically leave a minute or two later.
So if the whole building is occupied and there's another tenant in the building, what do you see as far as your process if, let's just say, all of those other parking stalls are taken up by the other use, and you have those 4 designated spots? How many children are going to be dropped off per hour in your current drop-off period?
The short, well, first off, we have 4, but we also have up to 50%. So 4 are going to be designated, but we do have a right for up to 50% at least when there's 2 tenants in the building. So we have that right to, tell the landlord if, say, tenant upstairs is occupied and they're occupying 100% of the spots, that goes against our lease agreement. And we try to stagger our pickup and drop off between, the hours of 8 and 9 a.m. typically, and it could differ. And, have parents come in at a few minutes at a different time so that they're not all coming together. Usually in an hour, it could be, 10 kids maybe. But once again, trying to stagger that so everyone's coming at a little bit of a different time.
So 10 kids per hour. How many kids at full occupancy in the space?
It can hold officially, I believe, up to 30. But we don't see that happening at not the same. We wouldn't put that at the same time, so we would stagger. Each kid has their own schedule. So some are there a full day, some are there a half day, some are only coming, towards the end of the day. It really just depends on their therapy schedule. And the therapy goes through insurance, so it really depends on what insurance approves. But we see all different types of schedules. So not necessarily is everyone going to be on that 9 to 5. So it's going to be staggered, and everyone has their own schedule.
So you can infer that there would never be 30 parents, 30 kids arriving there in a 1 hour period. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mark, I just, we're anxious to really protect the interests of the public, but also your potential clients as well as the adjacent property owners. So, what we're looking for is some assurance that from a process standpoint, do you have any concerns about children or parents getting in and out, and with the traffic flow with Mountain Lands corporate headquarters? So this is not the practice of physical therapy. This is people are arriving to do the business of billing and back office for 80 physical therapy clinics in the Mountain West, and they're not seeing patients. It's not patient flow. They're coming in, roughly between 7:30 and 9 a.m. and then leaving between 3:30 and 5 p.m. every day through a single entrance like that. Do you have any concerns about that relative to the safety of your clients?
So we, when we were looking through the properties, this actually stood out to us because when we went down there multiple times, it really didn't seem like there was a heavy flow of traffic coming through, and we were there multiple times for hours, and doing our whole check and all that. So it didn't really bring up a concern. It's definitely something we look out for because we're obviously in the same boat where we want to protect our clients and the parents and the children and our staff members. I happen to like the setup of the front door. There's no parking spots in front of the front door. So parents could even come right up to that front door, open the door, staff member comes in, they make that U-turn into one of our designated parking spots, and they go right out. And also just having that extra flow of parking spots in the south side. And we actually checked that out. We made sure to see, and we were there during, smack in the middle of the day between 12, 1, 2, and there was a nice amount of parking spots just available. And like I mentioned, the landlord did say that we would be able to use those if need be.
Commissioner Mills.
How many parking stalls will your staff require for operations each day?
It depends on how many children we have that day. So we schedule our staff members based on the kids that we have. So it really just depends on the amount that the kids are going to be there that day. It could be anywhere from
max capacity.
Let's assume you're phenomenally successful, which we sure you will be.
Thank you. I think about 10, I would gather.
Okay. So with 10 additional stalls potentially required for your space for your staff members, as well as, potentially 10 folks that are going to be dropping off per hour, at full capacity of the building, how would you remediate that if the other user is also going to have 10 designated to them?
Mhm.
How would you remediate that?
So I would use designated parking spots in the front that are under Little Champs. Those 3, 4 spots, we would tell our staff members when they're coming in not to park there. Let's leave that for pickup and drop off. It doesn't have to be all 4. It could even be 2 or 3 if need be. And to come in, find the spot and leave those so we can, designate spots for parents, whether they're coming to the front door or they want to park in those designated parking spots. They should always be available. And staff members, like I said, could always park on the side of the building or in the back of the building. And I think wouldn't be, I don't believe that should be an issue.
Would you feel comfortable getting a parking agreement in place with the user back behind and the landlord back behind?
Yeah, I mean, I personally would be comfortable, and I even asked for it, but they said that they don't have like an official agreement, and they don't think we could get one. It was more of just a verbal, I guess like 2 landlords that said that it would be okay, but they said there's no official agreement.
And from our perspective, we're imagining and seeking that you're going to be incredibly successful here, and the office market may shift where that could be occupied, let's just say in the next year. So right now, based on your top occupancy, it's very possible that you could be using all 10 or all 20 spots in that building if you had all of your parking requirements needed for the drop off as well as all of your staff. So you'd be occupying all 20. So, from a max capacity here, I think that's more so of what we're trying to alleviate here is you might need to have all 20 if you had 10 staff members there and 10 parents dropping off all at the same time. And, that's something that I think just from a business standpoint, but also from the conditional use standpoint, from a use space, we just need to evaluate that. Do you have any thoughts on how to alleviate that?
Yes, so I do believe that, creating that staggered schedule with the parents so we're not having 10 parents coming in at a time, we're having maybe 2 or 3, and even that would be a lot because of the short pickup and drop off time, being that we don't do therapy with the parents there. Parents drop off and they leave. So really should be a whole thing should be 2 minutes, a 2-minute ordeal. So I do believe creating a staggered schedule, and that's something that we do control with our staffing coordinators and scheduling coordinators, to create a schedule for the children that they're all coming at a different time. So whether it's, parent 1 gets a 5-minute slot, parent 2 gets the next 5 minutes, and so on and so forth. So we eliminate that issue of having 10 parents there at the same time.
Rusty, did you have some questions as well?
Just if Commissioner Mills had any thoughts on Mountain Land Physical Therapy, when they exit their corporate headquarters, would you say they typically exit here to the east onto Highland to make a left or right-hand turn, right? Or exit here to the north? Because exiting here to the north and trying to make a left-hand turn onto Highland is very difficult.
Correct. They are mostly headed for the freeway by any means necessary, and frankly, the only exit to the east is going through the McDonald's parking lot, which is I don't know. We created another set of ingress egress challenges there, and I don't think that's a preferred route necessarily. So and by preferred, because there's plenty of McDonald's drive-through traffic and double and sometimes triple lanes coming towards them. So it's really not even navigable. There's also a route that could take you through the Taco Bell parking lot, again, through another property owner's property that has that same difficulty of ingress and egress. So all that is to say that they'll likely be pushed through that northern entrance, and then we'll be making a right turn and likely a left turn to head towards I-215.
Thank you. Yeah. Chair Steinman brings up a good point. You know, you have a fully 100% occupied building. What does that parking look like? With that said, Mark, I love ABA companies. I've worked with several in the last, 18 months. Just you guys are providing a much needed service. And my experience with ABA groups has been highly positive. My landlords have also had this type of challenge, concern regarding parking and the use in general for other tenants. But I can tell you we have not had one bad experience, and I'm all for ABA, and hope we can find a solution here regarding this possible parking challenge.
Jim, did you happen to find what the requirement is?
Yes. So in the ITE parking manual, which is what our code references, the parking demand for a daycare and an office use is the same. So if the building were fully occupied with either use, it would be the same requirement. And based on the square footage of the building, it's roughly 7,000 square feet total, so about 3,500 per floor. Based on that parking calculation, you would need 15.75 stalls, so 16 parking stalls, and they, I believe, have 17 or 18 already constructed. So from a use standpoint, the building conforms with that use.
So if they designate 4, they have 13 left for staff or additional parents that may be coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
And I
at that point,
apologize, but 20 spots.
yeah, so there's 20 total. So I guess it would be up to the landlord and the tenants to figure out how they use their site. But from a code perspective, the building and the parking satisfies the code, and the use fits with
Oh, I'm
both
sorry, right,
parameters.
there's 20 spots total, so they'd have
Yeah. So they have 3 more spaces than the code would require.
for the entire building, and
Correct.
so they would have 10 available to them
Yeah,
if there was another tenant.
Yeah, the only time you get into trouble with parking is generally with a restaurant use, which would demand much higher parking ratios. Some places have like 10 stalls per 1,000 square feet. So in this case, you'd need 70 parking stalls if it were a restaurant. So for an office or daycare, uses that are similar, it's pretty typical to 2 parking stalls per 1,000 square feet.
So what I'm hearing is, after that explanation, I don't necessarily see a parking challenge here, that an existing tenant can come in and have the ability for the other 10 parking stalls. Right? Do I understand that right?
Right. So
Yep.
based on how the building is built, so we look at the square footage and the use. There's enough parking on site for a daycare or an office,
Yeah.
or both, depending on how they're divided up. But again, I think managing the parking is really the responsibility of the owner of the building and the lease they draft based on the uses that they have in there. So from a code perspective, we would allow this building to be built brand new with that many parking stalls intended for either use.
And it's really the landlord's responsibility. If he wants to secure a tenant for the upstairs, he needs to make sure he can park
Sure.
that tenant.
Right.
So, yeah, so, okay. So,
Any other questions for the applicant? There are none. So we will actually move forward to a public hearing on this application as well. And before we do so, Mark, would you like to have any other comments before we conclude and ready for a public hearing?
Nothing other. First off, I appreciate everyone taking the time today. Thank you for hearing us out. Applied behavioral analysis, ABA, we've been doing this for a while. It's something that's needed. It's something that's, that the community can use. We currently service the greater Utah. We do a lot of in-home and in-school therapy. So we are kind of building up our first clinic in the Cottonwood Heights area. And, we hope we would get approved, as we do feel this would really benefit the community and benefit those children that really are lacking services that are readily available for them. So I do appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark. And we open up for public hearing now. And if anybody wishes to come up, I don't believe we do have any of the public comment cards. So please just state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to talk. I see no public comments, so we will close the public hearing period of the meeting and move forward to Planning Commission deliberation.
I am fine with how things have outlined. I'm more comfortable in understanding how the process will work, and I'm all for it.
I would agree. I think one of the things that I do have concern just from, business and understanding from a use standpoint in office spaces that I would encourage, outside of the conditional use, I would encourage the applicant to get in writing the other landlords' parking opportunities that are a handshake right now. Now, of course, with use, it doesn't necessarily see any need that we have to accommodate that, but I would encourage getting that when you guys are at full occupancy.
My concerns were completely mitigated too, Chair, for all the same reasons that both of you described. And I have that same concern when we have shared ingress, egress, and people have the potential to reach maximum occupancy. It just, we're going out onto some really, really busy roads. They're busier than they were 10 years ago and way busier than when any of those buildings were built. So I hope I'm not saying that we're at maximum capacity, but I think there potentially could be some bottlenecks. I hope that they'll work out an arrangement and formalize their agreement. It's kind of that honeymoon phase when a new tenant is there and everybody's happy and excited that it's happening. So I hope that they're careful and cautious. But in terms of the code, I appreciate the staff numbers and very comfortable without condition approving.
I'd agree. Do we have any motions?
Do we have a model motion up there? I'll make the motion. I move to approve item CUP-26-003 pursuant to the conditions of approval outlined in the item's staff report.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Wonderful. We will move forward with vote. Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Mills,
Yes.
Commissioner Polson,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes, Commissioner Lugo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Steinman, yes. Move to pass that forward. Congratulations, Mark. Looking forward to having you in the community.
Thank you very much.
Moving forward to section 4 of the agenda, which is the consent agenda and approval of January 21st and February 4th, 2026 Planning Commission minutes.
Chair, I think just
Oh,
point
yes.
of order. I think we need to
Yeah.
officially.
That is correct. Before we move forward with section 4, we do also have section 3.2, which is the project CUP-25-005. The review of the conditional use permit request to demolish a structure located within the Cottonwood Paper Mill. We did discuss this in our work session this evening, as well as received public comments in the general public comment phase. This is not a public hearing for the evening. And in our work session, we had discussed continuance of that specific topic into the future. And I believe as a commission, we discussed just having this on our work session. for the next 3 meetings, which would bring us into May, and we will continue to have discussions. Some other information that did come out in our work session as well, just for the public. It does sound like the applicant is also looking to be doing some open houses and discussion with the public on this as well, just so we can continue the communication to move this forward. So with this, do we have any motions to create the continuance?
Well, I move that we table, I believe is the correct language, project CUP-25-005 to date certain May 6, 2026.
So we have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second by Commissioner Polson. And any discussion to that? I believe we can do this as a collective. All in favor for this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. We will continue project CUP-25, or actually table CUP-25-005 to the May meeting. Next, Section 4 of the consent agenda, approval of January 21st and February 4th, 2026 Planning Commission minutes. Did you all have a chance to review? Wonderful. Any motions?
I make a motion that we approve the January 21 and February 4, 2026 Planning Commission minutes as published.
We have a motion by
Oh.
Commissioner Anderson,
I'll second it.
a second by Commissioner Polson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And our next Planning Commission meeting will be April 1st, 2026. So I don't believe we have anything else to cover for the evening. So we need just one last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion
Second that.
and a second. All in favor,